Mahlzeit und willkommen zurück hier zum SciFi Sunday mit Star Trek Resurgence. Kleine Zusammenfassung. In der letzten Woche haben wir ja erlebt, wie unsere neue erste Offizierin, Commander Rydeck, an Bord der Resolute kam und sich das Schiff bereit machte, auf Mission zu gehen. Dabei hat allerdings ein Ionensturm das Schiff getroffen und nur durch das beherzte Eingreifen von Commander Rydeck und der Brückencrew ist es gelungen, dass nichts großartig passiert ist und unsere beiden Petty Officer aus dem Ingenieurkorps, die draußen auf der Hülle waren, es zurück ins Schiff geschafft haben. Allerdings wurde unser zweiter Protagonist, nämlich der Diaz, ich glaube Diaz war sein Name, von einem Blitz getroffen beim Wiedereinstieg und ja, da geht's jetzt weiter. So, wir laden und weiter geht's. Ja, da kommen sie jetzt gerade wieder rein.
Nilly.
I'm good. Help me with him.
Let's get this off.
Ouch.
Medical. Got one wounded at my location. Carter. You don't look so good.
Nee, das sieht wirklich nicht gut aus.
You gotta be more careful. I just got here. I'm not ready to see you two get blown to space dust just yet. Now let's get you down to sickbay.
Ich glaube, sie steht auf ihn.
Status report.
The repair crew made it inside. EPS flow is back to nominal levels. The SIF is back up.
How does this affect mission readiness, Mr. Ermot?
Releasing the docking clamps using hull polarity minimized damage to the Resolute. We'll have some last-minute repairs to make, but if we reapportion some of the staff, we can make our departure on time. As of now, however, we are successfully moored to the station.
Good to hear. Send updates to my ready room. Commander Rydeck, with me.
Oh, jetzt kriegen wir bestimmt Ärger, weil wir nicht auf ihn gehört haben. Oh ja, jetzt mault er bestimmt.
You disobeyed my orders.
Tatsächlich. Das war mein Fehler. Das war ein Fehler, tut mir leid. Das war die richtige Entscheidung. Es war die richtige Entscheidung, jo. Steh dazu.
Respectfully, Captain, I made the right choice given the
You
information I had.
disobeyed my orders! And not just in front of the bridge crew, but the Starbase staff as well. That's going to get around. My name's already tarnished around the fleet.
Tja,
But what is it going to do to my credibility on this ship? From the top to the bottom. Bridge to lower decks.
ja, sie kannten nicht alle Fakten.
Maybe I shouldn't have
das
disobeyed a
passt
direct
ihm nicht.
order. But you were wrong. You weren't on board and you didn't have all the information. So I made the right decision for the ship. If you're worried about your credibility, put your ego aside and trust your crew. Trust me.
You might have won some fans on the bridge with that stunt, but not everyone. Lieutenant Commander Chovak has already bent my ear.
I'm sure he doesn't take it personally. He'll get over it in time.
Mr. Chovak is more complicated than he would want to admit. I guess we all are.
Chovak war der Chefingenieur der Vulkanier.
And, if I'm being honest, I'm not sure what I would have done in the moment either. You never really know if you weren't in those shoes. So,
Das
let's
ist ein
just
Fakt.
boil it down to you did what you had to.
Ich habe sie enttäuscht.
That'll have to be good enough for me.
You placed a lot of trust in me, bringing me here. I feel like I've let you down.
I brought you here for a reason. I'm still sure it was the right one.
Na,
Despite it all, we got our final Starfleet clearance to depart. So if you'll fetch Mr. Ermot, we'll knock out the final details of any outstanding repairs, and we'll set out for Hotar.
Yes, sir.
Okay, dann geht's wohl los. Endlich auf Mission. Bereit zum Aufbruch. Ist schon ein schönes Schiff, die Resolute, finde ich.
All departments reporting full mission readiness. We've got our full complement on board.
This is my favorite moment, right now.
The start of a new mission is always full of possibility.
The Orion Syndicate could sell it as a drug.
Don't let the Admiralty hear you say that.
Captain on the bridge.
Sit. Sit, everyone. You all know, I'm not big on speeches. We're embarking on the first mission since our refit. Let's make it a good one. Disengage docking clamps.
Aber Refit mit Reparatur zu übersetzen, ist doch eigentlich auch falsch,
Docking
oder?
clamps released.
Thrusters ahead, Mr. Handar.
Oh, die Mucke. Ah, ich liebe es. Es kommt so rüber. Das volle Star Trek Feeling ist so schön.
That should do it. Set a course for the Hotari system. Prepare to go to Warp 8.
Aye, Captain.
You know what? You take this one.
Me?
Platz machen. Komm, wir machen klassisch.
Engage.
Auf nach Hotari mit Warp 8. Wir haben's also eilig.
Simple, but effective.
Na dann nimm mal Platz. Oh,
Easy. Thank you. I'm fine. Really,
ich glaube nicht.
You don't look so good.
Wir erinnern uns, sie stammt ja von einer Spezies ab, die regelmäßig irgendwelche Infusionen kriegen muss. Dafür hat sie diesen Ring.
I have to get to sickbay.
Go.
Uiuiui.
Help me get her inside.
Hat sie wohl völlig vergessen. Das sollte ihr aber nicht passieren im Stress.
Well, that was quite a scare. A few minutes more and it would have been one of the shortest tenures on record for a first officer.
Is that the engineer that was out on the hull?
That storm did a real number on him, but he'll live. Just needs rest. You should worry about yourself. Your deridium levels got dangerously low and destabilized your cell structure.
Uiuiui.
This is definitely one of the more memorable first days I can think of.
My name is Dr. Aram Duval, Chief Medical Officer. To be honest, I've never met a Kobliad before. You're...
Rare. I know.
I was going to say special. Your people's numbers have dwindled, despite the Federation's efforts to find a more readily available alternative to the deridium you need to survive. Yet you joined Starfleet and managed to thrive. I imagine the responsibility must be overwhelming. Maybe even a burden at times.
Manchmal ist schwierig, so bin ich nun mal. Nein, ich empfinde es als Ehre. Ja, doch. Sternflotte ist eine Ehre, doch. Ja, doch.
It does make me unique, but it's not a burden at all. I'm honored to be Kobliad, to represent my people.
As you should be.
Oder so.
And don't worry, I won't treat you like a science experiment. I just do the science and leave the experiments to Solano.
You don't agree with his methods?
I don't agree with his definition of acceptable risks. Not when the lives of your crew are at stake. My professional opinion is that the accident took a toll. More than he's willing to admit. He's overstressed, operating in the pressure cooker of his own mind. Which is never a good headspace when the lives of your crew are at stake. What concerns me is that now he's even further away from the thing he's been chasing his entire career. Breakthrough discovery. The major innovation.
Okay.
Something he can put his name on.
Puh.
The more the time passes and the further out of reach he
Schwierige
gets,
Antwort.
the more risk he'll be willing to take.
Ah, das lasse ich nicht zu.
People become blinded by their own ambition.
I hear you. But that's my job, isn't it? To make sure that doesn't happen. And we don't lose sight of the bigger picture.
Which is exactly why I'm so glad you're here. We need you now more than ever. And I have to give you credit for what happened on the bridge. It took guts to defy a direct order.
Huh. I guess word travels fast around here.
It's a small ship.
Ich wusste es.
And everyone's curious about the new XO. Fortunately, your cell structure's almost completely stabilized. And I'll spare us both the lecture, but I do feel it's my responsibility to remind you, without regular infusions of Duridium, you will not live. It's as simple as that.
Understood.
Then, my work here is done.
Okay, also Frau Doktor ist kein großer Fan von unserem Captain. So viel ist klar.
Lieutenant Bedrosian.
I came to see if you were okay. We were all pretty worried on the bridge. No one knew what was happening.
Ja, danke, dass Sie gekommen sind, wa?
I'm feeling much better. Thank you. It's just part of who I am.
You don't have to explain to me. I understand. I'm just glad you're okay. You trusted me earlier with the shields, and I appreciated that. I want you to know that I have your back.
Thank you.
Now, Carter, the emissions that gave you that burn are quite unusual, like everything else that goes with this storm. That's a combination of hyronolin and lectrazine to counter the radiation effects. That should help speed your healing. She's come by a couple of times to see you already. Be brief.
It's good to see you awake again. I was starting to get worried. Not that you aren't in good hands with Dr. Duvall. You did take one hell of a shot, though.
Ja, wie sehe ich aus, wa?
So, be honest. How bad do I look?
You look rugged.
Rugged?
Okay, how about heroic? Millie was looking in on you too, by the way. But since it's just us right now, I had a chance to think about this while I was away. And I thought it was important that I just come out and tell you. Instead of tiptoeing around it. Or worse.
Komm, Tür ins Haus, ne? Du stehst auf mich?
Leaving it unsaid.
Now, this is just a guess, but you like me. Is that what this is?
How'd you know? Must have been pretty obvious. Which is funny, because kinda came out of nowhere for me.
Ja, komm, ich kann gut raten.
Well, I'm just a really good guesser. Any of my teachers growing up would have told you that.
So, you figured it out. And I'll just cut to the chase. We've been really good friends for a long time. I want to see if there's more between us than just being friends.
Ganz sicher?
Are you sure about this?
They're my feelings. Of course I'm sure.
Well, I just mean, seeing me in here, after we almost got killed out on the hull.
I felt this way before that, Carter. I like you. And I think there could be something more for us. So, what do you say?
Wollen wir es einfach machen? Wir machen es einfach, oder?
I like you too, Miranda. I'd like to see where this goes.
Good. I was really hoping you'd say that.
Sorry to interrupt, but the patient needs to rest if he wants to get back to his old self.
Of course. I'll see you again soon.
Naja. Wie die laufen, ist teilweise echt ein bisschen schlecht animiert, oder? So hölzern irgendwie. Aber gut, meckern auf hohem Niveau.
Approaching the rendezvous point outside Atari space.
Helm, bring us out of warp.
Dropping to impulse.
Hoppala.
Ionic interference surging, Captain.
Ei.
Field integrity holding.
We can take it.
We are at the correct coordinates to meet the shuttle.
Commander Rydek, find us our diplomat, if you will.
Aye, Captain.
Oho, wir
Let's
treffen
reduce the
uns
noise.
mit einem Diplomaten.
Filter out environmental signals. I can manually tune what's left for Federation signal types.
Ah ja, okay.
I've located the shuttle.
Opening comms.
On screen.
Ui.
Shuttle to Resolute. Shuttle to Resolute. Debris field. Lost maneuvering. Losing.
I can't get it any clearer. We won't get a transporter lock. It's just not happening.
Power up the tractor beam. We'll pull them directly into the docking bay.
Diaz, you good to run the tractor emitter?
Yes, sir.
You sure?
I'm sure.
Come on, Diaz.
Na denn.
First thing, lock onto the shuttle and stabilize the rotation.
Dann machen wir das mal. Also, einmal. Okay, linken Stick drehen. Passt. Ei.
We're pulling in debris.
I'm on it.
Benutze den Traktorstrahl, um Asteroiden abzulenken. Da machen wir das. Jo. Nice. Den vielleicht auch. Eieiei, das wird eng, das wird eng, das wird eng. Oh. Okay, läuft. Cool. Was denn nun?
That's gonna take out the shuttle. Diaz, the bridge. There's a large piece of debris headed for the shuttle. The tractor beam can't handle it.
Can our shields take it?
I believe so.
Commander Rydek, plot an intercept course.
On it.
Na denn. Abfangkurs. Oh nu? Abfangkurs planen.
Here we go. Maneuvering thrusters bearing 53 Mark 17. 200 meters on an intercept course.
Maneuvering.
Alter Vater, echt krass.
Whoa! Someone's working hard on the bridge.
Okay. Dann ziehen wir da mal rein, die Luten. Schön mit Applaus, finde ich gut. Rettung erfolgreich.
We got the shuttlecraft on board.
Good job. We're on our way down to meet them.
terra firma,
Aha.
so to speak.
Ambassador Spock.
Okay.
The captain will be right down to meet you, sir.
In that case, I will wait for him here.
Krass. Krass. Ich meine, Leonard Nimoy ist tot. Die Stimme klingt aber 100% wie er. Willkommen an Bord, alles in Ordnung. Entschuldigen Sie die harte Landung. Ja.
Apologies for the landing, Ambassador. I was operating the tractor beam, sir. I take responsibility.
Our arrival was the smoothest part of our journey. Your artistry with a tractor beam is commendable. We thought we were prepared for our arrival in Hotari space, but it is evident my craft was not sufficiently robust for such intense ionic activity.
The storm has been pretty intense.
There was an element that was most unusual. Before you came to our aid, our maneuvering thrusters and impulse engines were rendered inoperable. So we attempted a short traversal at warp speed, only to find that we could not achieve warp at all, even though our diagnostics computer showed no faults or anomalies. What do you make of that?
Puh.
When all indications say that warp speed is possible,
Kaputter Computer, schwer zu
in
sagen.
practice, we find it is not.
Ja, dann würde ich auch mal sagen, da wird der Sturm schuld sein.
Well, this storm is one of the strangest phenomena we've ever encountered. It's disrupted other systems. Who knows what it might do to a warp drive?
Yes, it would seem further investigation is called for.
Take readings, run some additional diagnostic checks, and we'll get to the bottom of this.
Quite logical, Petty Officer...
Carter Diaz. Sir.
Thank you.
Ambassador Spock,
Excuse me.
I'm honored to have you aboard. I'd like to get right to it. We're already behind.
Da würde ich mich auch freuen. Ein Gespräch mit Spock. Wie nice. Die Legende. Kriegsvorbereitungen, okay. Oh, cool, der Konferenzraum, nice.
Ambassador Spock, my senior staff. It's not every day that a captain gets to welcome a Starfleet legend aboard.
You flatter me, Captain Solano. But legend implies the past tense, whereas I am very much focused on our present circumstances.
I didn't mean to suggest you were stuck in the past. You're right, Ambassador.
Aber Sie sind eine Legende, konzentrieren wir uns auf die
Diplomatic
Zukunft.
choice of words.
We need your experience, ne? Wir brauchen Ihre Erfahrung, würde ich auch sagen. Nee, aber Sie sind eine Legende.
You are a legend, Ambassador. There's not an officer in Starfleet that doesn't know of your career.
I would never assume that to be the case.
We were hoping you could fill us in on the details. We got the basics from Starfleet. Two formerly peaceful neighbors are now on the brink of war.
Indeed, and the tension between them grows fiercer by the hour. Lydia and Hotari. The Lydians are the more advanced species. They made first contact with the Hotari over a century ago. This is Tau, the Hotari moon. It is rich in dilithium, and for decades, the Hotari and the Lydians have shared a mining operation there. The Lydians provide the technological resources, while the Hotari have served as the labor force. The stability of that arrangement was the source of their peace, until recently. The Hotari have suddenly and forcefully seized control of the mining operations and expelled the Lydians from their system.
Okay.
That is the official story, as told by the Hotari when they requested Federation mediation. But the details remain scant. Communications between all parties have been limited by the ionic interference.
Ja, haben die Alydianer zurückgeschlagen? Können die Hotari die Mine kontrollieren? Wie kam es dazu? Das ist eine gute Frage.
How is it the Hotari were able to turn the tables and take the mines against superior forces, especially after decades in this arrangement?
Unclear. The answer to that question may be the key to a new, lasting peace, and one that I hope we can uncover during these negotiations. But it is unlikely the relatively primitive Hotari forces would stand a chance against the Elydian fleet if this escalates to open war. Left unchecked, this conflict will result in more bloodshed, which is what we are here to prevent.
And the dilithium trade hangs in the balance.
Clearly, the Hotari have been exploited in this relationship.
Maybe we can persuade them peace is the more profitable alternative for everyone. They both profited from the mines.
Sie wollen keinen Frieden.
Something is better
Ausbeutung
than
würde damit nicht enden.
Peace is our objective after all.
Ja,
That is correct.
Ausbeutung würde damit aber nicht enden.
We can call it profitable or mutually beneficial, but at the end of the day, the Hotari are still being exploited for their own resources.
True peace is not merely the absence of war. And as such, this conflict will surely come again.
Neither the Elydians or the Hotari are members of the Federation, so we can't make them do anything.
There is an additional complicating factor I should mention. In the past, the Federation has relied on the Elydians as a source of dilithium.
Ah.
That certainly changes things.
Federation sources its dilithium from a lot of places.
Das untergräbt unsere Vertrauenswürdigkeit. Oder wir sind also auch schuld. Nee, das untergräbt unsere Vertrauenswürdigkeit.
That means the Hotari have no reason to trust us.
I wouldn't go that far, Commander.
We are completely neutral in this matter, on neither one side nor the other. Any suggestion otherwise would compromise our position. Given the Federation's involvement in the Elydium-dilithium trade, Captain Solano and I must make every effort to appear neutral in these negotiations.
What worries me is if this whole thing unravels, and we're at the mercy of the storm at less than full strength.
We can't let it come to that.
Considering what the Ion Storm has done to our ship, and the Ambassador's shuttle, we have to assume the Elydian fleet has had problems with it as well. This recent surge in the energy disturbance temporarily levels the playing field.
Commander Westbrook is correct. The energy anomalies around the Hotari systems have been noted in the past.
Ja.
But they have never been observed on the orders of magnitude we have seen in recent weeks.
Die Ruhe vor dem Sturm, würde ich sagen.
That may answer why the Hotari were able to strike back after so long. They finally had an opportunity, and they took it.
That would also explain the Elydians' restraint.
And reason to learn as much about the energy anomaly as we can while we are here. We do not want to be caught at a disadvantage of our own. So I trust we understand our circumstances.
We're operating on a strict timetable here, and we're going to be leaving for the negotiations shortly. Commander Westbrook, I want you to leverage our systems to investigate the anomaly from here while we're gone.
Aye, Captain.
Thank you all.
Dismissed.
Okay.
I want to speak to both of you privately.
Ambassador Spock, I'd like to make a formal introduction. My first officer, Commander Jara Rydek.
Commander, as you are aware, there are limits to what Captain Solano and I can do in our official capacity as representatives of the Federation. But someone in an unofficial capacity, your first officer, for example, would not be bound by those restrictions. Commander Rydek could ingratiate herself to certain parties behind the scenes, where they may be more candid in revealing information that could lead to a resolution.
Mhm.
She certainly goes her own way.
Ich bin keine Diplomatin, wäre mir eine Ehre,
It would be unconventional,
was immer nötig
but I'm
ist.
not opposed to it.
Ja, ich bin keine Diplomatin.
With all due respect, Ambassador, I'm not a trained diplomat.
That's exactly what we're going to leverage.
I began my time in Starfleet as a science officer, not as an ambassador. We must be adaptable in the line of duty.
Well, I hope Commander Rydek will have more luck finding out what really happened than we will through official diplomatic channels.
The fate of the negotiations, the interests of the Federation, and the prospect for peace may very well depend on it.
Da stehen wir jetzt gar nicht unter Druck, ne? Überhaupt nicht. Schick. Oh, sie guckt aber nicht begeistert.
I understand you have already discussed the warp drive failure with Ambassador Spock.
I have.
It is imperative that the Ambassador's shuttle be flight ready. I need you both to ascertain the root cause of the system failures he encountered.
I'm surprised, Commander. I thought you would have wanted to work on Ambassador Spock's shuttle yourself.
I respect the Ambassador and his many accomplishments, but I do not derive any satisfaction from interacting with his shuttle as if it were somehow transubstantiated through its association with him. Especially when I have the entirety of this starship to concern myself.
Macht Ihnen überhaupt etwas Spaß?
I am not the chief engineer of this shuttlecraft.
Ja, es ist ein ganz normales Shuttle.
When you look at it logically, yes, it is just a shuttle. No different than any of the others.
There is plenty that is different about it, and that is what you are to investigate. But please limit your findings to observable scientific phenomena.
We'll try to restrain ourselves.
Then I will leave you to it. Make note of any abnormalities in your report. Carry on.
It seems like he's warming up to that.
Der Typ ist immer neutral, seht ihr das?
Even Chobok has to look at that face and know you've earned some real respect. And I have to admit that I owe you one. You were right to make me go first. I don't know what I was thinking.
Ich habe einen hohen Preis bezahlt, vergiss das nicht. Nein, du schuldest mir gar nichts.
You've pulled me out of trouble how many times? Call it even.
Okay. At the very least, maybe I can track down that bottle of Saurian brandy you're still on the hook for. But first, we have work to do.
Na dann, finden wir mal raus, was mit dem Shuttle hier nicht stimmt.
Ready to go?
All set. Let's run the diagnostic.
Na dann mal los. Okay. Diagnostik. Beginn Diagnostik.
So, I know about your talk with Miranda.
You do?
She sent me a Priority 1 dispatch right after your conversation. I'm happy for you. Both of you.
Thanks.
But I'm only going to tell you this once. Don't screw this up. Because I would be very unhappy if you tried this out and then, I don't know, 6 weeks or 6 days later, I have to start splitting holidays between the two of you. All because things went south and you're not on speaking terms. That just isn't gonna work for me.
Komm, hab etwas Vertrauen.
And I know you'll respect that.
You really don't believe in me, huh?
It's not you. Or her. Just running the numbers, and things don't work out more often than they do. I like my friends, and I like our group. I don't want to lose that. Is that thing done?
Yeah, it's wrapping up. Let's see. The relays along the primary EPS are blown. The backup relays are all intact.
An EPS overload from the warp drive could cause that. But how did the shuttle end up dead in the water?
Huh. Well, maybe the ship's data recorder can tell us something.
Okay, dann gucken wir uns den mal an.
Here.
They were only about 8 minutes from their plotted warp point. No faults, just those warnings. What are they?
Gucken wir mal weiter. Okay, den muss ich jetzt einzeln anklicken.
Subspace variance out of tolerance. What does that mean?
It means the main navigation array lost sight of space somehow.
Will the array going offline cause that?
Yes, but it should have also thrown a fault code.
Okay. Was haben wir hier?
warp field became inverted suddenly.
I've seen this happen when the center warp coil cracks.
A cracked warp coil throws a fault code.
Still, we should take a look.
Dann schauen wir uns nochmal das letzte an.
There was a complete warp cascade failure.
Wow. They're lucky the shuttle didn't turn inside out.
Makes me think the computer panicked on the warp field equation.
Any one of these failures should have thrown a fault.
If it was caused by a system failure.
None of this caused the relays to blow. Roll forward to when that happened.
Yes, ma'am.
Na denn.
So here, they take a moment to get their bearings and they attempt to re-engage the warp drive.
There. That's the relays blowing.
Okay.
And look, there's another warp system alert.
They're all the same. Subspace variance out of tolerance, or warp inversions. Finally, there's a complete warp cascade failure.
Then it's one of two things. Either a warp coil is cracked, or the navigation array is offline.
That makes sense.
Divide and conquer. You want to check the warp coils or the navigation array? I'll check the other. Don't overcomplicate this. One of these systems is likely broken.
Puh, ja, dann nehme ich die Warp-Spule.
I'll check the nacelles for a cracked coil.
Ei, okay. Tricorder-Benutzung. Dein Tricorder kann Daten aufzeichnen und analysieren. Wenn du ihn benutzt, wirst du zuvor ungesehene Dinge entdecken. Benutze X, um deinen Tricorder hervorzuholen oder zurückzustecken. Halte den rechten Trigger, um leuchtende Objekte zu scannen. Du musst nah an manchen Objekten sein, um sie scannen zu können. Achte auf den Rand des Bildschirms, um zu sehen, ob du zu weit weg bist. Okay. Also mit X holen wir ihn raus und mit dem rechten Trigger scannen wir. Na denn. Tada! So, was scannen wir denn hier? Können wir überhaupt was scannen? Außer Reichweite. Kann ich nah rangehen? Okay. Manche Dinge, die du scannst, aktivieren einen Tiefenscan. Benutze während eines Tiefenscans linken Bumper und rechten Bumper, um zwischen verschiedenen Scan-Modi hin und her zu wechseln und nach leuchtenden Objekten zu suchen. Die Modusanzeige auf dem Tricorder blinkt, wenn es ein Objekt in dem Modus zu finden gibt. Wenn du alle Objekte gescannt hast, ändert sich die Farbe des Rahmens. Halte linken Trigger gedrückt, um die Daten zu analysieren und den Scan abzuschließen. Okay. Na denn. Probier's mal so. Schalten wir mal um. Mit dem rechten Bumper. Scannen wir hier. Okay. Hier auch nochmal. Scanner abschließen, alles klar. Linker Trigger, weg damit.
I checked every coil on the port nacelle for imbalances. If any coil in either engine were cracked, I would have detected it. So, it must be the navigation array.
Except it's not. Checked and double-checked.
Well, the readings don't lie.
Here comes the security detail for the way team.
Leute, auf die Arbeit konzentrieren. Was ist denn hier los?
Hey.
Hallo.
I'm not here.
We're escorting the negotiating team to the surface as soon as they come down from the bridge. I don't want to interrupt some important work. I was just hoping to see you before I go. The captain and the others will be here any minute now.
Für dich habe ich immer Zeit, der Job ist wichtiger. Man weiß nie, wann der Chef vorbeikommt.
Well, we can't let the brass catch us slacking on the job. Just play along. This is a Mark IV outboard diagnostic panel used for troubleshooting shuttles and other medium-sized transport vehicles. Some people prefer the Mark V because it's one better, but the Mark IV is still one better than the Mark III.
That all sounds very technical.
Ach.
Hey, Maris. Aren't these those button pushers you're always hanging out with?
And you're the phaser jockeys we always beat in Parisi squares, right?
All aboard for Hotari.
That another one of the captain's railroad things?
Gotta be. I just usually zone out by the time he gets to the whole, steam engines were the warp drives of their day part. Catch y'all later.
Okay, der Captain mag wohl Eisenbahn.
You don't want to miss your train.
I do have to go.
Na denn,
Not gonna lie, I'd rather not leave.
komm heil wieder zurück. Ich werde hier auf dich warten.
More
Ach,
important things on my
komm,
mind.
knutschen. Ich will knutschen. Eieiei, okay, hätten wir es mal gelassen. Das sieht ja scheiße aus.
That was nice.
Yeah, it was.
Save some of that for when I get back.
Nö.
You got a deal.
Be seeing you.
Na denn. Das hat ihr gefallen. Ist ja komisch.
Etzelarda Diaz. If you could float back down to reality, we still have a ways to go. All right, where were we?
So, the warp coils in the navigation array are fine, but the nav computer doesn't seem to think so.
I'm out of ideas short of field stripping the shuttle from bow to stern.
You wanna take this out of the shuttle and throw it on the bench?
Oh, real hands-on maintenance. I like it.
Gesagt, getan.
Okay, the nav computer is patched into the ship.
The ship's computer can double-check our work. If the shuttle's nav computer is putting out false data, we'll know it.
Let's run through the shuttle's logs again.
Ey, nicht, dass wir damit aber jetzt den Schiffscomputer irgendwie kompromittieren, oder?
Same. Warp field inversion and a cascade failure. However, the Resolute computer doesn't show the same subspace variance.
We're in the same conditions that the shuttle was in when it failed. Why wouldn't the ship's computer get a matching result?
What if the subspace variance was a momentary occurrence?
That's a possibility, and it would explain why the simulation under our current sensor readings failed to reproduce the issue.
But a subspace anomaly strong enough to cause a warp field collapse would leave graviton ripples for days.
Let's run with the momentary subspace variance theory for now. Roll forward to the shuttle's attempt to re-engage the warp drive. We need the conditions of space around the shuttle at the moment of warp failure.
Resuming simulation.
Das Geräusch von dem Warpkern, sehr, sehr nice. Okay, weiter geht's.
Error in warp field calculation. Cochrane formula variables are out of range.
That right there. Take the shuttle sensor data from that moment.
Computer, why did the warp field calculation fail?
Warp field pressure returned non-orthogonal. Results are undefined.
That doesn't help.
Wait, what if we use a different ship?
Put the Resolute into the simulation instead of the shuttle.
Yeah, it should warp just fine. Unless... Computer, run the simulation with the Resolute.
Resolute simulated.
Computer, give me manual control on the warp power.
Okay, na denn.
Static field intensity, warp 1.1. 1.2. 1.3. Warp pressure is destabilizing. Error in warp field calculation. The warp drive has experienced a system-wide cascade failure. Warp field collapsed. Subspace variance is out of tolerance. Cochrane formula results are undefined.
Bingo.
Whatto?
The same moment when the shuttle failed to warp, so did the ship. Whatever happened to the shuttle just happened to us. The Resolute will not sustain warp.
We can't leave Hotari space.
Okay. Das ist doch künstlich erschaffen, das ist doch Sabotage. 100%ig. Oh, nice. Nice. Geiler Planet. Friedensgespräche.
Ambassador Spock, Captain Solano, welcome to Hotari. We are honored you've come. My name is Tylos Altaris, Minister of Diplomatic Affairs.
The honor is ours. And this is Commander Jara Rydek, first officer aboard the USS Resolute. You'll find she has a keen mind and unique insight into the dynamics between the Hotari and the Illidians.
Es ist eine Ehre, hier zu sein.
We are honored to be here as representatives of the Federation.
I'm so glad.
These must be the representatives of the mighty Federation, the reigning authority in the galaxy. Or so we've been led to believe. Whether that's true or not remains to be seen. But either way, we're grateful you've made the time to come to our little corner of the universe.
And you are?
This is Galvin, and this is Citron, the heroes of the revolt in the mines.
Mhm.
Let's hope this is the last time we ever have to come here.
If you'll excuse me.
Okay.
I think we're about to begin.
Die Hotari wirken so ein bisschen, ja, wie soll ich sagen, barbarischer. Er ist selbstgefällig, unterschätzen Sie ihn nicht. Unterschätzen Sie ihn nicht, finde ich gut. Bleiben wir für alles offen, geht auch, aber...
Something about his tone tells me this won't be easy.
That was my sense as well.
I doubt he speaks for all of Hotari. So I would urge patience until we speak with their queen.
Die Allydianer, die, ja... erinnern mich so ein bisschen an Hochelfen oder so. Zumindest von ihrem Kleidungsstil, nicht von der Optik. Können wir einen Stinkefinger zeigen? Wir zeigen Respekt, oder?
Ambassador Spock, welcome to Hotari Prime.
The honor is mine, Your Majesty.
That the Federation would send one of their most respected representatives is not only an honor to the Hotari people and their queen, but recognition of our stature and importance.
Let's get on with it, shall we? With all due respect to the Federation and their ambassador, they have no authority here. We are not members of their alliance. We are not subject to their rule, nor yours. We demand the immediate return of all mining operations to Illidian control, as it has been for centuries and will be for centuries more. That has always been our understanding.
That understanding has changed.
Then you invite war.
And if you cannot remain silent, you will be silenced.
Okay.
This point is well taken. What is the Federation's interest in this matter? Perhaps you would have us trade one oppressor for another?
The Federation remains neutral. Our only interest is the peaceful resolution of this conflict. We are here at your request, Your Majesty.
For now.
Saying this wouldn't be easy was an understatement. I thought they wanted us here.
Wir sind hier nicht beliebt.
Was there something you wanted to say, Captain?
Oh, no. My apologies.
And what about the Kobliard?
Sie weiß das?
She can speak for herself, can't she? Then let her.
Okay.
Now then, what is your name?
Commander Jara Rydek, Your Majesty.
Being a Kobliad, you would know better than anyone. Your people suffered brutal treatment at the hands of the Cardassians. Their injustice towards the Kobliad is as unimaginable as it is unforgivable. Not unlike how we have been treated by the Elidians.
As much as they'd have you believe they are the victims here, remember it was the Hotari who attacked us. Hundreds of innocent Elidians were slaughtered without mercy in those mines.
The blood is on their hands, not ours.
Quiet! If after all the Kobliad suffered, you finally had the chance to right that wrong, to get out from under their control.
Oh, das ist eine miese Nummer.
Would you take it? Or would you negotiate a peace?
Puh. Boah, Alter, das ist schwer. Ich würde versuchen, dieses Unrecht auszugleichen. Ich würde nach Frieden streben. Schwierige Frage. Ja, wir weichen aus. Schwierige Frage.
I can't speculate on something that never happened, Your Majesty. Sadly, that opportunity never came for the Kobliad.
No, it did not. But we'd be wise to learn from their example, before we too find ourselves facing extinction. The Federation is the most powerful, most advanced alliance in the galaxy. It's widely known we have an abundance of dilithium in our mines. And it's in your interest to secure a steady supply.
Your Majesty, if I may.
Ambassador Spock would have us believe you're here as a neutral party in the interest of peace. So why are you really here? I want the truth. Not your Federation.
Uns geht's nur um Frieden. Dilithium spielt eine Rolle. Steht mir nicht zu, darüber zu reden. Uns geht's um Frieden. Boom.
As Ambassador Spock has said, we've come seeking a peaceful resolution to this conflict, and have no interest in your dilithium.
I'm not nearly as naive as you must think. The Federation has done business with the Elidians for decades, which makes me question your motives.
Mit
What they
Recht.
haven't said, but cannot deny, is
Ich habe sie beide nicht angebissen.
the dilithium trade would not and will no longer exist without Elidian involvement. We created it for the benefit of everyone, especially the Hotari. We've given them warp technology. We've let them share in the profits. We've made their lives infinitely better than before dilithium was discovered. All of that goes away if the Federation turns a blind eye to their treachery.
That is enough of your lies!
Ei.
The Hotari are quite capable of running the mines. We've done so for centuries. So tell me, who deserves control of the dilithium trade and the mines on Tau?
Hui.
Who should the Federation recognize?
Und das soll ich jetzt entscheiden?
Or the Elidians?
Alter. Oh.
Only be one or the other, not both.
Ja, die Hotari, das ist deren Mond, deren System, Hoheitsgebiet. Ist logisch.
If I have to choose only one, then it would have to be the Hotari.
Well said. How could the just and wise Federation make any other choice?
Ei.
This is an outrage. The Federation has lost all credibility.
Mines are ours. Lydia will not be deterred. We will take back our mines by any means necessary.
Then you will see more blood spilled.
I am more than willing to address your concerns, Your Majesty. Yours as well, Representative. But I suggest we could have a more productive conversation with a smaller group. Perhaps only the most essential representatives.
Oh, ob das mal ein Fehler war, was ich jetzt gesagt habe.
I suppose there is some sense to that. I hope we meet again, Jara Ryder.
Könnte passieren. Ei. Ich glaube, das wird dem Captain nicht gefallen haben. Irgendwie pissen wir den Captain immer an. Schon mal unser roter Faden.
Spock and I will cover everything on the diplomatic front. You make nice with the locals and see if you can get some answers. We need to find out why the Hotari are so willing to risk war. What happened in those mines?
Sprich mit den Mitgliedern der Fraktion. Okay. Schauen wir mal. Gucken wir uns erstmal an, was das ist. Bewundern.
Soothing.
So. Ich gucke mir jetzt erstmal hier die Kleinigkeiten an, bevor wir mit wem reden.
Such rough terrain. No wonder the Hotari are so tough.
Ja, durchaus. Aber kommt schon nice. Kommt schon nice. War's das? Da ist auch noch. Naja, komm. Das auch nochmal untersuchen. Banner.
They seem proud of their culture. Pride can lead to rash action.
Okay, ist hier sonst noch was? Nee. Gut, dann reden wir mal mit den Leuten. Yladianische Anführer. Da hinten geht's wieder in den Thronsaal. Wer seid ihr? Sidron und Tylas. Okay, das sind die, wie die Königin vorhin gesagt hat, die Helden. Dann quatschen wir einfach mal erstmal ihn an.
Commander, I'm glad you've chosen to side with the Hotari. I knew the Federation would see through the Illidians' baseless claims.
Verschwinde ich von selbst. Ich stehe auf keiner Seite. Jo.
To be clear, I'm not on either side of this conflict. Our only interest is peace.
I will keep that in mind.
I assume you were there the day the mines were seized from the Illidians.
Not seized. Reclaimed. And restored to their rightful owners. Yes, I was there. We had to be decisive. Before the Illidians could even realize their worst nightmares.
Hatten Sie Unterstützung? Waren Sie bewaffnet? Fürchten Sie keine Vergeltung? Hatten Sie Unterstützung? Ist gut.
Did you have help from someone else?
Hotari stands alone against the Illidian forces. We don't need help from anyone. They respect one thing above all else, and that is force. The greater the force, the more certain the outcome. Any talk of making peace is just that, and worth little without the strength to secure it. Which makes me wonder about your ship, the Resolute. Undoubtedly the Federation's finest warship. Ready to contend with anything the Illidians might have in store.
Alter, wir fliegen ein Forschungsschiff.
Or is that not true?
Unser Schiff kann im Kampf bestehen. Sie ist ein Wissenschaftsschiff. Flotte ist immer in der Nähe. Nein, wir sind ehrlich.
It wasn't designed as a warship. More for scientific research and exploration.
But the Federation must have ships designed for war.
Technically, they're Starfleet ships representing the Federation. But yes.
I see.
Das war's schon.
A pleasure meeting you, Commander. I'm sure we'll cross paths again.
Okay, wir haben die Stunde schon, aber ich will auf jeden Fall die Episode hier abschließen. Dann quatschen wir mal ihn an.
Commander Rydek, I'm encouraged to see the Federation supporting my people. I'm afraid of what might happen without your help.
Ja, freut mich zu hören. Bedanken Sie sich bei Spock. Freut mich zu hören.
I'm glad to hear it. I just hope you're not the only one who feels that way.
I apologize for that. These are unusual times, to say the least. Much is changing. I saw you speaking with Sidron, our national hero. I'm curious, what did he say?
He seems to be of the opinion that negotiating for peace is a waste of time.
Because force is the only blunt instrument he understands. He's a miner, not a diplomat. For the first time in our history, the Hotari have the upper hand. We see ourselves as strong instead of downtrodden. New voices have risen up. Old voices shouted down. Galvin and Sidron have become national heroes. Now, they have the Queen's ear. Better or worse.
Sie trauen ihm nicht. Sie haben ihren Platz eingenommen. Sie wollen keinen Frieden. Das.
I assume they've taken your place.
I was one of the Queen's most trusted advisors. And I hope to prove myself worthy of being so again. Which is why you're here.
Aha.
My fear has been that the Illidians will launch an attack and crush us. You've seen their starship, no doubt. They could have retaken the mines whenever they wanted to. But it never happened. And as strange as this may sound, I'd almost say they're afraid. I just don't know what they're afraid of. It's still the same bluster and bravado you would expect from them.
Galvin vor der Föderation, vor dem Ionensturm?
Like they're afraid of what might happen.
Vor dem Ionensturm.
Do you think it has something to do with the ion storm? Right now, it's stronger than ever, isn't it?
It's entirely possible. I'm not a scientist, but I do know the storm has knocked out all kinds of systems. So maybe the Illidians weren't willing to risk their ships, given all the interference. Since the day of the revolt, Galvin has seized control of the mines and restricted all access. No one's allowed without his personal authorization. And they've taken over a section of the palace with just as much secrecy and security. I'm told it could be something they brought back from the mines. I've made inquiries, but everyone pretends it doesn't exist. I strongly suspect they're hiding something.
Sind Sie sich da sicher? Nein, was haben die gefunden?
What do you think it is?
I've heard rumors it's some sort of ancient artifact, but I haven't seen it myself.
How can we know?
I'd better see what's happening.
Uh-oh.
Do you think you can find out what they're hiding? I need to see proof of something before I can make my case to the Federation.
I can try, but even if I found it, I might not know what to make of it.
Take this. You can use it to capture whatever you find, and then send it to me.
Thank you.
Also ein Tricorder ist eine feine Sache.
I will let you know what I find. And I look forward to our meeting again.
Sorry, I couldn't help but notice you were speaking with the Hotari this whole time. I figured in the interest of fairness, I should offer another perspective.
Na, zu dir wäre ich ja noch gekommen.
I'm probably not telling you anything you don't already know, but these negotiations rely on the Federation's neutrality, as does any hope you might have for a supply of dilithium in the future. So, why you would choose to side with the Hotari escapes me. Without Illidian involvement, there is no dilithium trade.
An, wir sind neutral.
Clearly, you weren't aware.
Wir sind neutral.
We are and will remain completely neutral. Our only interest is the peaceful resolution to this conflict.
As is ours. Of course, the question is, at what price? Major Salit Arminta, Special Attaché, Illidian Armed Forces. Pleasure to meet you, Commander. I have my issues with the Hotari, but I have to give them some credit. They know how to seize an opportunity. Inciting an uprising the same day as a massive, once-in-a-lifetime ion storm.
Our assumption was that this storm was just an anomaly.
Yes, a very convenient anomaly. At least that was what we were told. Of course, I wasn't there.
Sie scheint skeptisch zu sein.
Who am I to say
Kaufe ich hier
otherwise?
nicht ab. Was ist wirklich passiert? Ja, warum nicht?
Something tells me there's more to the story. So what really happened?
Well, the official story is that it was the storm that enabled the revolt. How else do a bunch of unarmed, unorganized miners seize control of an entire moon, much less thousands of mines? But I've talked to people who were there. They tell a different story.
Okay.
They say they're lucky to have escaped with their lives. That it was more than just the storm. That somehow the miners were able to harness the energy from the storm.
Mhm.
I know it sounds crazy. I'm not even sure I believe it myself. But that's what they said.
Puh. Das erklärt einiges.
You just answered your own question. How do a group of miners do something that in theory can't be done? That's how. Harnessing the storm.
But even if it's true, how does that even happen?
You tell me.
So, und jetzt marschiert er da auch wieder rein.
If you'll excuse me, Commander Ryder.
Jetzt haben wir ja mit allen gesprochen. Berichte Captain Solano. So, und der ist ja nicht hier, logischerweise. Der ist ja da drin, mit Spock. Ich gucke mich nochmal eben um. Ne, es gibt auch nur noch den Eingang. Dann gehen wir eben dahin. Das ist mal eine recht lange Episode.
Well, that was a disaster.
What happened?
The Hotari refused to concede anything, so the Illidians stormed out.
The Hotari did not invite us here as peacekeepers. I hope your efforts were more fruitful than ours.
Naja.
Gravitational harmonics failing to resolve. Warp bubble stability degrading. Increase output to maximum.
Warp-Leistung erhöhen, machen wir.
Increasing warp output to maximum.
It's happening again.
It is evident that presently the Resolute cannot achieve warp propulsion.
Since our diagnostics rule out any problems with our warp systems or anything about the ship, the problem appears to be the fabric of space itself.
Space itself? You're saying something about this region of space prevents warp travel?
Prevents it, or can't sustain it.
However improbable,
Wir
that
haben immer noch
appears to
den
be the
Impulsantrieb.
We need to know more.
Könnte am Sturm liegen.
Otherwise, it'll be an extended stay in the Hotari system.
Well, couldn't we slowboat it out of here at impulse speed?
It may come to that, but we don't know how far this warp dead zone extends. Captain Solano is on his way back from the negotiations, and I want to have some answers for him when he gets here.
Indeed. Given the facts at hand, we may be able to deploy subspace probes around the ship to construct a clearer picture of the phenomenon.
Around the ship. I'll prep a shuttle.
Okay. Damit haben wir diese Episode dann auch abgeschlossen, meine Lieben. Und damit würde ich die Folge auch beenden. Ich quatsche jetzt hier eben rein. Hier geht es dann nächsten Sonntag auf jeden Fall weiter, meine Freunde. Also ich bin auf jeden Fall gehypt. Macht mir richtig Spaß. Ich hoffe, ihr habt auch so ein bisschen Spaß dran. Und dann danke ich euch fürs Zusehen. Ich hoffe, ihr seid nächsten Sonntag wieder mit dabei. Als denn, bis denn.